Oh shit, I forgot my hat. All right, welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to get into a variety of topics, but this first topic we are going to talk about the Model 3 rear-wheel drive long range rear-wheel drive is new or is back, or it is available in this market. And so we'll take a look at it because this is a pretty interesting new trim, or at least a trim that they've brought back, and this might make a lot of sense in a lot of different markets. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the pricing, where you can actually get it, and much more including some interesting topics today, including a production ramp. It seems like Tesla inventory is hitting new highs, and a study done that 41% of Americans won't actually buy a Tesla vehicle or an electric vehicle. But we'll get into a variety of different topics. But before we do that, let's run that intro. This is what we usually do that. But if you're just joining in, my name is Dennis. I love talking about Tesla hacking, as I like to call it, but basically just getting the best deal on Tesla at the best financing rate. So definitely hit that subscribe if you're interested. In today's video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link down below in the description if you want to support the channel and get access to the best Tesla buying guide out there that has all the best interest rates. But definitely check it out. Link down below in the description. All right, so let us take a look at this. Shout out to Sawyer Merritt on Twitter. He posted this screenshot that he was actually found, or someone sent to them possibly. Tesla is introducing the Model 3 long range rear wheel drive for B2B or business to business customers in the UK, with delivery set to start in June. So June is pretty interesting, right? We'll talk about why that is in a little bit, but here's a quote: "To accelerate the electrification of the Europe's business-to-business fleet, we are introducing a new Model 3 variant that caters to the needs of our commercial customers. Model 3 long-range wheel-wheel drive combines a segment-leading 394 miles WLTP with highest charging convenience at an entry-level price point of $46,990. So the first thing we'll talk about is June, right? So June is what, 2 months from now? So that's a pretty interesting figure, right? Because the Model 3 long range has not been introduced into the US just yet, but it's pretty interesting how it is being introduced into the market like UK. And I actually didn't realize that in the UK market, you can actually buy a Model 3 long range right now for 50,990. I want to say this is pounds, right? UK, but of course, like, that means it's been available this whole time. Or at least I don't know when this was actually loaded onto the website, but we can try and piece together some of the pricing here of how they have different pricing in this market versus the US market. So of course, they also have a rear-wheel drive variant at 42,990. They've got the long range at 50,990 and a Model 3 Performance for 57,990. But the interesting thing here is you can actually build a Model 3 long range to however you want. So it's interesting how in this market, the UK Tesla allows you to order a Model 3 version however you want to build it, but in the US market, of course, we know that the Model 3 long range is not actually available. But pretty interesting that they are bringing a Model 3 long range rear-wheel drive. I certainly think this will do really well if they brought this to the US, because there's a lot of markets out there that you don't necessarily need all-wheel drive. I'm thinking like California, of course, and so some people would love to purchase a Model 3 without the all-wheel drive variant and just have all that extra amount of range on top of that. And I mean, 394 miles WLTP, I'm not sure if that's this is someone asked the question, 394 US or UK miles, and of course that's UK, but I really don't know, is there what's the difference between a UK mile and a United States mile? But either way, at the end of the day, anything above 300 is a lot of miles at the end of the day. And so this is pretty cool that this is, Tesla's releasing this for business to business variants. But let me know what you're thinking on it. Let me know what your thoughts on it are. We're gonna jump into our next topic, but before we do that, this video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link. Down below in the description is a Patreon link where you can support the channel, so definitely check it out if you're interested. Order break. Thanks for joining in, everybody. Different setup, as you can tell from yesterday. We are still in Japan, and so this will be our temporary setup until the rest of the week. So thank you all for joining. Thank you all for jumping into these live streams. figure there's always something we can talk about really briefly. And so thanks for all the support as we've got a different setup these next few days. But in this next topic, I saw this interesting video on Twitter, and I wanted to ask you all the question: would you go to this supercharger if you actually saw it? And this specific supercharger is flooded. So let me know what your thoughts on it. But if you're just joining in, my name is Dennis. I love talking about Tesla hacking, as I like to call it, but basically just getting the best deal on Tesla at the best financing rate. So definitely hit that subscribe if you're interested. And so let us quickly just jump into this. Shout out to Jeremy Judkins for posting this. Would you charge at a flooded Tesla supercharger? And this video gets pretty interesting, right? So you can see they're driving up. It's there's already a bunch of other Teslas flooded there, and they're driving up and driving up. I don't even know which state this is in, probably Florida or something like that. But backing into the supercharger, you can see that's what, at least like a foot of amount of water right there. You can see it's through some of the water levels at the side of the other tires and rims. And I don't even know what I would do here. Would you take off your shoes? I mean, I guess you would have to, but walking on water like that, barefoot in questionable water, questionable things that could be in that sea of parking lots, you know, I mean, what if you step on glass? So it looks like this person who's recording this video took off their shoes, walking to the side of it. But I can't imagine this is safe in any sort of way, like combining electricity with water. I mean, I feel like that's just common sense, but I guess maybe Tesla has these things built in where, you know, it protects the vehicle and like the systems are grounded in some sort of way. I mean, if you're an engineer or some sort of science major, like, let me know if this is okay. I mean, I guess at a certain level, the Tesla supercharger would shut off by itself, or they would completely turn it off so that people wouldn't necessarily even try to supercharge. But this is like a, you know, it's a tough situation, right? Because you need electricity, you need power to drive your vehicle. And so you're kind of stuck, and maybe most likely your house doesn't have power to charge your vehicle, so you have to go to a supercharger, or I guess maybe just stay home and not even mess with it. But definitely some crazy stuff. Let me know what your thoughts on it. Let me know what you're thinking. Would you actually drive to this flooded supercharger and charge up your vehicle, or would you just figure out at home? But if you understand how Tesla electricity works with modern engineering, yes, of course you would. Okay, so maybe we're good then. Maybe it's completely safe at the end of the day. Yes, and I also drink milk past the dates. Yeah, pretty funny comments at the end of it. But we're going to jump into our next topic. But before we do that, this video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link. Down below in the description is the Patreon link where you can support the channel, so definitely check it out if you're interested. And if you're just joining in, thank you. Welcome. It seems like Tesla has brought back the Model 3 long range, or introduced a Model 3 long range rear-wheel drive variant in the UK market for business to business customers. It's got a rated segment leading range of 394 WLTP UK miles. I don't even know what is like the conversion, or what's WTLP miles to US. And I mean, it's pretty good, pretty decent price. I mean, right, 46,990 relative to the other trim models that they have in the UK. Because I didn't realize that you can actually get a Model 3 long range all-wheel drive in the UK market for 50,990. So basically $5,000 $5,000 less, or 10% less, you get rear-wheel drive and a lot more range. That could be worth it, because you can see right here it's 374 for the long range all-wheel drive, and it bumps up another 20 or so miles for the all-wheel drive version. So pretty cool stuff at the end of the day. Like, I hope they bring this to the US, because that definitely, there is a good amount of markets that necessarily don't need the all-wheel drive and would rather have the rear-wheel drive at the end of the day. But in this next topic, Tesla production ramp seems to be going at a pretty rapid pace, and supply is reaching new levels. So we'll talk about why Tesla kind of has to decrease prices and lower prices to sell more vehicles. Because when we zoom out and take a look at all the production numbers being ramped up, then you can certainly see why Tesla might have to lower prices to increase demand. So we'll definitely talk about it. But if you're just joining in, my name is Dennis. I love talking about Tesla Tesla hacking, as I like to call it, but basically just getting the best deal on Tesla at the best financing rate. So definitely hit that subscribe if you're interested. And so let us take a look at this. So shout out to Warren Redlick on Twitter. Why is Tesla lowering prices? Question mark. Production 440,000 units in Q1 of this year versus 365 of last year, Q3 2022. So that's a 20% increase in a half a year. So the supply is up. And then if you start to factor in all the different market factors onto it, so economy, interest rates on car loans are up, and so that definitely can hurt demand, right? Tesla interest rate right now is a 5.59% if you were to finance through Tesla financing, and there's definitely ways to lower this by going through credit unions and other banks out there, so definitely check it out. If you want to get the best access to the list of all the best ones, Patreon link down below in the description. But so you can see supply up and demand is down, so prices have to fall, right? And so of course Roran put in a plug here, or put a note here about econ, how he took econ 101 40 years ago, and that doesn't necessarily change the economics of it all. But you can see here from the Matt Young Tesla inventory charts, like Tesla supply inventory is starting to hit new levels. You can see right here, this is a chart of all new vehicles, Model 3, Model Y, S, and X, and this inventory chart is starting to creep up a little bit higher and higher, and we're starting to see levels of Model Y inventory that we haven't seen in a long time. So here's Model Y inventory on the screen, same thing with Model 3. You can see here on the right side, all Model 3 inventory is also high as well. Model S and also Model X is kind of at that same factor as well. So if is a price drop going to happen in the near future? I mean, Model Y inventory is at pretty high levels, and this one stuck out to me pretty interestingly. So here's a 2023 Tesla Model Y Performance. It's a black on black version with only 1,600 miles on it, and it already has a almost $3,000 discount. This is a brand new Tesla Model Y. It's a demo version, so it's never been registered to anybody. So it could have been a showroom demo, a test drive demo, but you will still be the first owner, and it's got almost a $3,000 discount. So that's pretty good. I mean, jumping to the Model 3 side, there's also a lot of inventory, and this is the vehicle that is about to lose the tax credit, especially the Model 3 standard range version. You can see right on the website, all Model 3 and Model Y vehicles get a $7,500 federal tax credit, but starting after April 18th, if you take delivery after April 18th, it goes down to a $3,750 tax credit. So basically it gets shaved in half. So I've been speculating for a while that the Model 3 standard range will lose, or will get a price drop down to maybe even $39,990, like another $2,000 off, because Tesla will probably start to do discounts to test the market, especially if it's losing half the tax credit for the Model 3 standard range version. So this is my prediction. I mean, we've also got the Tesla earnings call in the next few days, also on April 18th, and so there's a lot of things that are probably going to be discussed with that, and including a factor that hasn't really been known so far is what is the cost of goods. So right now, here's a tweet from Russ. In that equation, stock price also falls to. The X factor is the cost of goods, which nobody knows until Wednesday. And so what he's specifically talking about is the Tesla earnings call, where hopefully someone will ask the question, and the team at Tesla will answer the question on how much each of their vehicles cost to actually manufacture for the profit on them. So maybe that could signal more price cuts in the near future, or more price decreases to make Model 3 and Model Y just a little bit better in terms of how much it actually will be. But interest rates could also go up in the next month or two, or in May, because I think that's when the next Fed earnings call or Fed's meeting is. So we could certainly see some more price action at the end of the day. But Tesla production ramp, as the vehicles start to get produced and as more vehicles start to roll off the factory lines, then more supply gets up, and Tesla really only has a few tricks in their back pocket to move vehicles, and one of them being price discounts and of course incentives and things like that. So definitely some pretty interesting stuff. Let me know what your thoughts on. Let me know what your predictions are in terms of what the pricing may be in the next, I mean, at this point, maybe even the next few weeks at this point, because we've got the earnings call in the next few days, and then the end of April, end of May, and then of course at the end of June, which is the end of the second quarter, there is always some sort of promotion in terms of discounts, incentives, supercharging miles, or anything like that. So we're going to get into our next topic, but before we do that, this video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link. Down below in the description there's a Patreon link where you can support the channel, and there's a variety of benefits, but some of them include actually scheduling a call with me where you can ask me any questions about buying a Tesla, selling a Tesla, or even financing a Tesla. And after you join the Patreon, you get a link to my buying guide, which has links to all the resources that I use to get the best possible deal at the best financing rate, including credit unions and banks on that list that all have interest rates lower than Tesla financing, lower than Tesla's 5.59%. So definitely check it out. And as an added benefit, I respond to all questions and direct messages in the Patreon app, so you can ask me anything one-on-one about buying a Tesla. So definitely check it out. Patreon link down below in the description. All right, if you're just joining in, welcome. The Tesla has introduced a Model 3 long range real world drive in this market. So shout out to Sawyer Merritt's. It looks like the UK market is announcing a long range real world drive Model 3 for B2B or business to business customers. And it's going to be coming out at a price of $46,990, and it's got a 394 mile range for WLTP standards. And if you want to compare that, here is the website where you could order a long range version all-wheel drive for $50,990 on the UK website, and that has a WLTP range of 374. So basically we can try and guesstimate here that a US market version would probably be like 350 for real-wheel drive. And so I would be definitely interested in a vehicle like that to be coming out for the US market, because there's a lot of areas where all-wheel drive is not necessarily needed, and so it could make a lot of sense in the US, certain states, of course, at the end of the day. Like I'm talking places that don't get snow or any sort of crazy weather, Florida, Texas, California, even well, except for if you're in Florida, then it might be flooded like this and you wouldn't be able to plug in, or I guess you could be able to plug in because Modern Electricity says it's okay, at least by one of the comments down below under here. But definitely some pretty interesting stuff. Let me know what your thoughts on it are. In our next topic, a study was just released that 41% of vehicle buyers will not consider buying an electric vehicle. And that's pretty interesting because that seems like a lot of people. Almost half, or almost 50% of all people in the US will not buy an electric vehicle, or at least we're not even considering buying an electric vehicle. So let me know what your thoughts are, because that seems pretty high, but maybe we're just in an eco bubble here, or in a bubble where all we talk about is Tesla is in electric vehicles, or maybe it's just because we live in California and there's just a lot of electric vehicles in California. But let me know what your thoughts on it are. If you're just joining in, my name is Dennis. I love talking about Tesla hacking, as I like to call it, but basically just getting the best deal on Tesla at the best financing rate. So definitely hit that subscribe if you're interested. And so let us jump into this. So here's the study, or here is the tweet from Gary Black. Worth considering these new survey results from Gallup poll, of course. Only 12% of Americans are seriously considering buying an EV. That doesn't seem like a lot of people at all. I would imagine that would be at least 1 in 3 people, but only 12%, that's 1 in 10 people. That seems very, very low at the end of the day. 41% said that they would not buy an EV. That seems very high. So almost half of the Americans out there said they 100% would not buy an electric vehicle. I mean, maybe because they think electric vehicles don't fit in their living, how they drive around everywhere, which could make sense. There's a lot of states out there that you could be driving far distances. I'm thinking like Texas, and there's places where there might not be a lot of charging infrastructure set up. So I can certainly see that why like maybe half of the country out there, depending on their state, could not make the state and infrastructure would not make a lot of sense. And also at the same time, there's a lot of like suburbia out there where there's not there, you're not living in any sort of city capacity, and where charging could not make a lot of sense at all, and there's just a lot more gas stations. 43% said they might consider an EV in the future, so basically the same percentage as the percentage of people that would not consider buying an EV. The flip side to that is there's a lot of people that might consider buying an EV at the end of the day. So definitely some pretty interesting stuff. I mean, this could be an argument in which Tesla would need to advertise to change the understanding on why it would certainly make sense to buying an electric vehicle and how you could home charge and the benefits of that in terms of cost. But there's also a lot of states out there that where electricity is not that expensive at all, and also gas is maybe not as expensive. So that could make a lot of sense on why people would not see the huge benefit of buying and owning an EV versus gas, whereas places like California where electricity costs are 30, 40, 50 cents a kilowatt and gas costs are $4, $5, $6 a gallon, it could certainly make a lot of sense at the end of the day, at least the spread between driving and electricity and gas. But shout out to Paul Foss, of course. As you know, Paul Foss is a Patreon supporter and viewer of the channel. He actually posted this. So correct interpretation is that people are willing to and able to purchase a new car. About 25% are seriously considering buying an EV, about 3 times the current supply. Next year, supply will be about double, and about double the number of people will have their kids, neighbors, friends, siblings, likely doubling demand. People will buy what their social circle buys and more than what they see on a 30-second ad. Every electric car sold causes 2 more to be sold the next year, as the new owner tells the social circle that is the best thing since sliced bread, no advertising needed. So that's a great point. I mean, right now the awareness, or people love following what the trend is, or people love following what their friends do. So it always takes like one person to buy an electric vehicle and then it trickles out to everybody else, because no one really wants to be the first, or I guess most people are scared to be the first. They'd rather have someone else figure it out for them and they can tell them all the different steps that they need to follow after it. And so that certainly has an effect, and Paul is completely correct. Like, of the people that are seriously that are able to buy a new car, because that pool is definitely dwindling as well, 1 in 4 people are seriously considering to buy an electric vehicle. So definitely some pretty interesting stuff. Let me know what your thoughts on it. We're going to jump into the live stream comments, because that's the benefit, right? You can come in and ask anything you want. But before we do that, this video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link. Down below in the description is a Patreon link where you can support the channel. So definitely check it out if you're interested. All right, Paul, yeah, I almost forgot my hat. Pretty funny, right? But if you're just joining in, welcome. Tesla has introduced a Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive version for business-to-business customers in the UK, and the stats look pretty staggering, right? 394 miles at a WLTP standard. I was trying to figure out what's WLTP to like EPA, but it seems like if we were to guesstimate, probably like 350 for the US. But I mean, a Model 3 long range rear-wheel drive variant would do very well in the US markets, I feel like, because there's a lot of areas where it just wouldn't make sense to buy or pay that $5,000 difference for all-wheel drive, and you can just get a rear-wheel drive for a little bit cheaper and save some money and still get even more range at the end of the day. Yalfomo, welcome back. Thanks for coming in. Shireen, thanks for coming in. Welcome back. Wow, that's expensive. 50,990 GBD is like 63K USD. Yeah, I did the conversion as well. It seems like that market is definitely a little bit higher. I think I'm going to wait for the Model 3 long range being available in the US. Hopefully it's cheaper than performance. Yes, 100% it will be cheaper than performance. And for every once in a while, you could find a long range version pop up in inventory. So I would say go to check out waitingfortesla.com, check out the sites, stock it, and see if one pops up. From time and time again, people have been able to secure one, but it's just very rare at the end of the day. Nick, love my Model Y performance. Yes, Model Y is definitely a hot car. Yeah, I don't know when it's coming out though. End of Q3 maybe. Yeah, it possibly could be at the end of the day. Tennessee is making a new law that EV cats are not allowed on highways for disasters. Oh, interesting. So like if there's like a tornado or something like that, you can't bring them on the highways. That'd be interesting. Why? Because they would get stuck or something and cause more traffic. I guess that could make a lot of sense. Let's see what we got. The problem Tesla faces is exactly what Elon Musk said himself. The only thing that makes a Tesla is full self-driving. So that means you need to add $15,000 to your price or go buy any EV. They are all the same. Interesting. I never saw that quote, but I guess that kind of makes sense. I mean, Tesla with the autopilot is pretty advanced compared to other systems, at least from what I've driven, and full self-driving adds it to another level on top of that. Tesla brings about 14% net margin. Yes, I think that's the study, right? It was like anywhere from $9,000 to $15,000 on profit each vehicle, but that was before all these price drops. So we'll see. I mean, in the earnings call in the next few days, hopefully that is discussed. Really refresh this year Model 3 maybe. Yeah, I think so. It's slated for quarter 3 of this year, rumored, so we'll see. Watts credit starts for approved at credit US 650 700. Yes, usually you need like a 680 plus. What price tag do you think it will be? I think like 45,000 if a Model 3 long range rear-wheel drive comes out. Long-term kilowatt hours will eventually be $1. Please not forget all electrical comes from fossil fuels. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are speculating, at least in the California market. It's anywhere from 30, 40, 50, even like 60 cents a kilowatt. So we could easily see that going up to $1, which would be unfortunate at the end of the day. But definitely some pretty interesting stuff. Let me know what your thoughts on it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hitting the like button. Check it if you just bought a brand new Tesla or you got one in order. Check out our Tesla part accessory partners down below in the description where you can get extra discounts. We've got 3D Mats USA, Jawa, Tamai, and a bunch more. Check it out, and as well as check out our Patreon link if you want to support the channel and get access to the best Tesla buying guide with all the credit union and banks interest rates out there. So definitely check it out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hitting the like button.